Well, it's our artists and authors. I'm your host, Steve Walling. My guest for this segment is a young lady, and I can say that because I'm substantially older than her. She is an author of a future apocalypse trilogy series, and Barbara, right?
Yes.
Did I get that right? See what I mean?
Yes, you did.
The gray hair. No, Barbara Gilbert. Welcome to the show, Barbara.
Thank
And
you.
okay, we talked a little bit before we went on camera. Hey, there you go.
Sorry.
That's okay. We have friends in this world, and that just adds a little bit of color to the interview, if you
Yes, it
will.
does.
Okay, hey, Barbara, you are working on this trilogy, Future Apocalypse,
Yes.
and we're talking about a young lady and how she moves through this concept in her life as she's growing older. And I'm gonna stop right there. I'm gonna let you fill in a little bit more of the details.
Okay. Paulette, the main character of the storyline, is a brilliant young lady. She decides that she wants to invent time travel. She's convinced that she has the information in her head to do it, but just doesn't have the money. When she becomes a young adult, she finally is able to make that concept reality and creates a time pod, tests it, and everything is going good. She's got all her test runs. They're coming, she can send it to the past, to the future, everything comes back. So she decides to just jump in and go 250 years into the future, kind of get a good grip on what technology is available in the future. Um, but she finds herself landing in the post-apocalyptic world. When she tries to come back, everything goes wrong and she's stuck there.
Okay, so that's going to be a bit of a challenge for her. Now, I would hazard a guess that that's a lot of what we are going to learn about as the story unfolds. Barbara, what you know, a future apocalypse is not a new concept. People have,
Right.
there's been a lot of sci-fi books written about it. But what was it that attracted you to the concept, and how do you see that future post-apocalyptic period?
Well, the apocalypse in general, I was drawn to it when I was extremely young. For some reason, I had a fascination with the Book of Revelations, which, of course, is its own apocalypse.
Right?
Um, when I decided to write this story, I had already started two other stories in the same genre, and decided not to continue those at the time. So I dreamed up a split genre, time travel and the apocalypse. Um, and I based it all in the Pacific Northwest.
Okay.
I never technically lived there, but my mother does, and I've been there. So I have, some knowledge of the area. Um, and basically, this post-apocalypse is a combination of everything that could go wrong. All the volcanoes go, the tectonic plates are moving around, Yellowstone blows up, and practically wipes out civilization and humanity. And there's a few left. And in the second book, she finds out that there's a possibility of a city of technology where they've come up and they've been able to build back up to some extent.
Okay,
And
I'm
so,
going to stop you right there. All right,
okay,
because you mentioned the magic words, the second book. Now, our
yes.
first book's been out for how long?
First book's been out since the end of August, first part of September last year.
Okay, but the second book is due to go live, what, next week, you said?
May 31st.
Awesome. So what we're talking about now is into the second book. So, all right,
Yes.
go ahead.
So in the second book, she actually has to travel across the Cascade Mountains into the eastern portion of Washington State to get to this city of technology. She has to, she'll face a lot of danger, mishaps, and things of that nature with the group that she's with. She does get, well, I don't want to give too much away, but
No.
they're trying to get to the city, and once they get there, they got to figure out if she can get the help that she needs to see if she can get back to where she started.
And so I'm gonna jump ahead for the third book, and
Okay.
and so we're gonna see her succeed on some level because that's what protagonists do in sci-fi books, and
Right.
she's gonna be greatly challenged. She will be creative in overcoming those challenges. But does she get back home?
Oh, but if I told you that, I'd give it away.
Yeah, well,
Well, the title of the third book does give it away slightly. It's
Okay.
called Future Apocalypse Homeward Bound. So it tells you that she does make it home,
Okay.
but there's going to be some twists in there.
Awesome. I'm actually this. You caught my interest, Barbara, and so the book is available on Amazon, I'm sure.
Yes,
The new book will be up on Amazon at the end of the month.
correct.
What's the timeline for the third book?
I am going to try and have it out by winter.
By
I
when?
can't guarantee it. It's all based on, how much I can get done under the circumstances, but that is my goal, just so that I can take a break for a little bit.
There you go. What attracted you to sci-fi?
Well, my first books that I ever really liked, believe it or not, were Hardy Boys. So I
Okay.
was more into mystery.
Yeah.
But when I got into high school, I was looking for a really good book to read, and someone told me I should read Sword of Shannara by Terry Brooks,
Uh-huh.
one of my other favorite authors. And I read every book practically that he's ever written. And I finally got to meet him 2 years ago in person.
you?
So that was
Awesome.
exciting. I was in Seattle at the right time.
Uh-huh.
So that's how I kind of got into the sci-fi. And like I said, I've always been into the apocalypse, always dreaming up what might happen or what could happen. How I got into writing, I've always written stories, just never did anything with them, even written poems and stuff. But my kids, my boys at the time, they're both in the Air Force now, but they were homeschooled by their dad,
Mm-hmm.
and their dad required them every November to write for NaNoWriMo. Now, even I, who hated writing in school, would have written if I didn't have to do math, because math was even worse. Okay, they didn't have to do anything, no math, no science, just write.
Yeah.
They wouldn't do it. So I was taking care of my mom at the time in Washington State, so I said, well, I'll write with you guys.
Okay.
So I did. I wrote, trying to give them some incentive. And of course, I ended up with the most words. And that story that I started, I kind of clipped it off and made it a free giveaway short story called Year of Reckoning. And you can get that on my website for free.
Okay.
Eventually, I'll make it a full story.
Mm-hmm.
Then I did another one the next year. Didn't get as far. It was more in line of a comet hitting the planet and an alien virus, but it never got very far. I was going to continue in I gave up for a while, and in 2018 I decided, well, maybe since the rules changed, maybe I'll finish Year of Reckoning. And then I started reading it on a trip to New York, and I'm like, nah. So then I just started thinking of how to write another story and came up with the time travel series Future Apocalypse.
Barbara, I enjoyed listening to you tell your story because, good authors, sometimes people think that good authors they're just born good authors. And in truth, there are some good authors that are that way.
Right.
But for a lot of people that think, well, I've got a story, but I'll never be a good author. It's work, it's commitment, it's doing that practice, doing the stories and the over and being disciplined and stuff. And you're sharing a little bit of that concept as you're telling your story. But that's how we get to be someone that can write a trilogy that people will be interested in reading. Like I'm going to be interested in reading possibly here
Nice.
real soon. So that's it. So your sons are in the Air Force now?
Yes, my oldest is stationed in Alaska,
Oh.
he and his wife, and my youngest is in Oklahoma, and they do the same job, which is funny, but least they're not at the same base. I'd hate to have the oldest in charge of the youngest.
Oh, yeah, I get that. I have a son that's a career in the Navy, so yeah. Um, what's beyond for Barbara? What's beyond this trilogy? What are we looking at?
Like I said, I'm going to take a break from writing. I'm a disabled vet, so it's really difficult for me to get all this done. So I'm going to take a break. And the next year, I'll probably pick up and finish Year of Reckoning, try and get my mind back into that world. Because I've had somebody ask, is it going to ever be a full story?
Yeah.
I may go ahead and expand the other one. I haven't decided what the title. The initial title was Comic Collision, but I'm not sure if I'm going to keep that. And then I don't know where I'm going to go from there. Like I said, I may come up with some adventures for Paulette where she continues doing some time travel. So I haven't decided on that.
Well, having authors that make young women the protagonists, and maybe I date myself by using the phrase young women, but you know what? Our young women need, and young girls need to have those types of heroes, if you will, and
Right.
role models and stuff. I'm a father of 3 daughters, so
Oh, wow.
it was important to me to have my daughters be very independent and being able to meet life challenges on their own with the idea, the concept. It's not about what can't be done, but how can I get done what it is that I need to do,
Right.
And so I thank you for that, from a parent of daughters, and I want to thank you for your service. I also am a vet, a little earlier time than you, but thank you so much. But all this is nice. We've had a great conversation. But you know what? People need to know how to find you, Barbara. How do we find you?
Okay, well, you can find me on Amazon. You can also find me on my website, which is BJ Gilbert
Okay.
815.wix, wixsite.com/SYFY author.
Okay. We'll get.
And that's my website. And then on Facebook, you can search up just Barbara Gilbert author and find my Facebook page.
All right. Look forward to seeing it, Barbara. Thank you for being with us today. Anything else you'd like to share with our audience before we close out?
No, I think we got everything covered.
All right. Well, again, thanks for being with us today, and I look forward to checking out your series.
All right, appreciate it.
And I'll see you when we come back.